Hi, this is Holly Izquierdo with MyPlantBasedFamily.com. I'm here to answer some more questions that have come out of our 21-day healthy eating challenge. I hope that you're on the challenge with us. If not, you can start now. We're seeing a lot of really neat things. People are becoming accountable to one another. They're eating healthier. They're eating fruit when they haven't eaten fruit maybe in years. They're eating beans when maybe they normally would stick to meat and potatoes. And people are just turning their dietary problem areas around and sticking to a plant-based diet. So join us if you haven't already. Now I'm going to answer a few questions. The first question I had was regarding costs. Do you always hear that it's too expensive to eat healthy? That eating a plant-based diet just costs too much? But I'm here to tell you it doesn't have to. If you're sticking to an unprocessed plant-based diet, which is what we are striving for, it really doesn't have to cost that much. Look at some of the staples like rice, beans. Those are typically pretty low-cost items. We're going to avoid the packaged food. Those things cost a lot more, but dried beans are very inexpensive. And you can go to myplantbasedfamily.com for a how-to guide on how to cook dried beans if you've never done so before. That'll save you a lot of money over canned beans. You can also try to buy in bulk. We usually would buy beans in like a 20-pound bag, rice in like a 15-pound bag, and that saves us a lot of money because you pay less per pound if you're buying in bulk. Another way to save money is buy seasonal fruits and vegetables. If you get a circular from your grocery store each week, look at those items that cost less. Right now in the fall, apples are typically pretty inexpensive. Potatoes are usually pretty inexpensive. And just go through and make a list of all the produce items that are on sale, that seem like they're reasonably priced, and make your menu plan around those items. And that will save you a lot of money. Avoid the pre-made meals that already have everything together. Those are going to be a lot more expensive. Also, if you're wanting items like berries that are very expensive typically right now, buy frozen because you'll find that those are less expensive this time of year. And just, each month as the seasons change, different items will get more and less expensive. And just plan your menu around those seasonal items, and you'll save money each month. It doesn't have to be super expensive. We pay a lot less now for groceries than we did before when we were eating meat and dairy, because meat and dairy are very expensive. Processed food, although it may seem like it's inexpensive, it's really not, because you're not getting the fiber to fill you up. You may be getting the calories if it's processed. There may be lots of extra oils and sugars and other things in those. But okay, now let's go to the next question. The next question is, if I don't have a lot of time to cook, what can I do to eat plant-based? And here I'm going to change up things from the previous question. But if you don't have time to cook, one way to save a lot of time is by buying canned beans. I know I just said they're a lot cheaper to buy the dried beans, and that's true, it is. But if you don't have much time, buying canned can definitely save you a lot of time. I just bought an Instant Pot, and so I'm trying out new recipes, and I'm able to make beans a lot quicker. So I'll have more recommendations for that as I try it out and have a little bit more experience with it. But another thing you can do is do a little bit of batch cooking. You don't have to plan or prepare your whole week of food on one day. But something that I normally do is I'll cook about a week's amount of rice. So I'll cook just a big pot of rice, and I can use that throughout the week for bean and rice burritos or bean and grain bowls. Sometimes we'll even have it for breakfast. We'll do a breakfast rice recipe that you can find on my website. So I'll cook that rice once. It takes me 45 minutes to cook a batch, if I make a small batch or a large batch of brown rice on the stove. And so I'll do that on the weekend and then eat on it throughout the week. And I won't have to invest that 45 minutes again. I'll just need to heat it up with whatever else I'm making. Another thing that you can do to save time is, if you do meal plan, which I highly recommend because then you know what you're eating throughout the week, is you can pre-chop some of the vegetables to have ready. So if you know you're going to need diced tomatoes and onions in 2 or 3 meals that week, you can go ahead and have those chopped up and ready to just pour in the pan or pour over the salad or however you're eating them. Another thing you can do to save time is buy frozen vegetables. I will often buy frozen stir-fry vegetables because those are usually my nights that I have stir-fry when I don't have a lot of time. So I'll use the rice that I batch cooked earlier in the week. I'll use a bag of frozen stir-fry vegetables, and then maybe I'll add some garbanzo beans, or if I have some leftovers that need to be used, or some extra carrots or extra peppers that they're getting a little past their prime, I'll throw those in. And then that meal can be on the table in about 15 minutes if the rice is already cooked and the veggies are frozen and I just have to pour them. I don't have to cut or trim or anything else. So that's a great way to save time, is by planning your meals so you know what you're having, and then do some of that prep ahead of time. Okay, I think we have time for another question. How do you handle outings or gatherings with unsupportive friends? And I'm also going to throw in family because I'm mixing a couple of the questions together. You're going to have unsupportive people in your life no matter how you're eating. And sometimes you just have to pick your battles. I am a big believer in relationships are way more important than some battle or some fight. Like I try to choose to get along in relationships despite what I'm eating or how they feel about it, but you really can't make everyone happy. So my recommendation is, if you're going to a potluck or a family gathering, bring your own food and bring enough to share. Make a giant batch of the Mexican rice and bean casserole and bring it so that you can have plenty to eat, and also anybody else who wants it can have it. And it doesn't look like it's some weird food that everyone's going to be afraid of. It just looks really good because it is. So do things like that. You don't have to put a big sign on it that says this is vegan and gluten-free and oil-free and everything else they're afraid of. Just put it out and tell them what it is. And, oh yeah, I found this recipe online. It looks really good. And people will probably try it. Same thing with desserts. You don't have to tell them everything that's not in it unless they really want to know. But just do things like that. Now, if you're going somewhere and you have very little control, if you can't bring your own food, I say try to choose to honor the relationships. Eat what you can. If there's something you're not comfortable eating, don't. But just be mindful of who it's affecting. With my son's allergies, people know that there's a lot of food we're not going to eat. And I'm not going to go somewhere and eat peanuts because my son can't be near peanuts. And same thing with gluten. We are very careful when we're touching it because we handle him because he's little. So I'm not saying don't lie about an allergy, but just tell him, some foods make you sick or you can't eat those for health reasons. Definitely be truthful, and just try to get along if at all possible. And if you have kids, say in your house, if you have teenagers, or it could be little kids, but that they're maybe not on board with this lifestyle, one, if they're old enough to make their own meals, let them. They don't have to make their own food every day, but just say, hey, Tuesday is your night to cook. Cook what you want. They can be supervised. You have to clean up your own mess and cook enough for a couple days and they can have leftovers. Or I try to make foods that resemble stuff they like. Like we'll make chili and it doesn't have a lot of grease or meat or anything like that in it. It's just veggies and beans and lots of seasonings, and we don't really miss the meat. But my kids could eat it and not really realize what's in it if they like that. So I try to stick to things that they would typically like. I also add, we'll do a bunch of different foods and have like a buffet night, because people they have a little bit of a choice. Maybe none of the food is their favorite, but if there's 3 things they get to choose from, maybe they'll be happier. And again, if you're talking about your kids being happy with what you cook, even if you were making very unhealthy food, more than likely they wouldn't be happy all the time. I know my kids weren't when they were my big kids when they were younger. So do the best you can. Let them maybe pick a meal a couple of times a week. Come up with a plan And if there's a lot of need, email me and I'll try to help walk you through it or point you to some resources that may help. Okay, I think that's all for today. So I hope these answers helped you. Join us at myplantbasedfamily.com and at the My Plant-Based Family Facebook group, and join in the challenge. You know, we still have plenty of time left, and there's lots of great prizes that we're giving away. We give away prizes on Wednesdays and Saturdays, and I'd really love to have you join us. Thanks. Bye.